Hello everyone, welcome to episode 25 of Live with Sirus Migration. My name is Isuru. I'm an Australian registered migration agent, and I've got Ashani right next to me, my lovely wife. She's also an Australian registered migration agent. So today we will take up some questions. Talking about today's program, we'll be taking up talking about some of the topics and the frequently asked questions from last week.
Yeah, I think we start with answering 5 of the questions that we had most frequently last week, and then we will move on to 491 Small Business Owner Pathway for Queensland, Tasmania and ACT. And then we will talk about Western Australia skilled migration in deep. We will look at all the streams available. And I believe after that we talk about subclass 188 and GTI. And then also, we will touch base on work visa and some of the other options that are available right now. And also then we will answer all of your questions that you put in through while we talk in this session, but just in case if we can't get through to all of them because of the time factor, please do email us admin@sirus.com.au or give us a call with your question. We will definitely get back to you.
There's lots of information to be discussed. I don't know, the time's going to be very limited, so We'll start shortly and we'll touch base in the topics very slightly, but if you need any clarifications, type your question down below in the comment section, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button.
Yes. So we will actually, without wasting any time, we'll just go to the questions. Question number 1, I'll read it. Isuru, maybe you can answer.
Do I have to
live in Western Australia to apply for a 491 visa or 190 visa? That's a really good question, and that's one of the things that I'm very excited to share with you today. With Western Australia, there are 3 occupation lists. So general stream, which means you don't have to study in Western Australia to apply under that stream, has Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 list. Schedule 1 is pretty much health occupations, but Schedule 2 is a big list. It has, for example, accountant in it. And you don't have to live in Western Australia to be eligible to lodge an expression of interest.
Unlike time before, prior to 1st of July, this is a very big change or very big difference from the last stream. So
you don't have to currently live and even work in Western Australia. Pretty much what you need is a job offer, but I will go into that in detail
soon.
So to answer the question, no, you don't have to live in Western Australia to be eligible.
Let's go to question 2, Maria. Yeah. If I was applying for 491 and 190 in ACT, I have a business in ACT turnover of 60,000 per year. Do I get any points for 491 and 190?
I believe they mean under the SBO stream, isn't it?
I think they're talking about SBO. We will we will talk about this in detail. The good thing about from that question is you're currently living and doing a business there. So when you come to the matrix, again, I will come and explain this again. When it comes to matrix, you'll be very good looking with the points, but the turnover of the business has to be $200,000. So it's not what you're going to be spending to buy it. That's the turnover of the business that you're acquiring, or at the time when you apply, the actual actual business turnover has to be there. So the good thing about ACT, I really don't want to go into detail because I'm going to come back. In ACT, when you apply, when you talk about SBO, they allow you to establish. Unlike some of the other states such as Queensland, you don't have to pay $100,000 to buy it. So we'll come back to it shortly, but until then, let's talk about...
let's go to question 3. Hi, if an applicant has both IELTS and PT test results at the required level, will he be eligible for points for both certificates? If yes, what would be the basis? The answer is no. You can only claim 1 point for your, not 1 point, either depending on your score, you can claim different points, but you can't claim it multiple times.
It's a bit
You
of a
can only
tricky
claim it
question actually.
once.
So simplifying the question, you're asking whether you got IELTS 6.5 and PT 56, and you're asking can you use the points concurrently? No. So
No,
if you're
you
getting
cannot.
10 and 10, you can't say 20. You can use only one, which is the most beneficial one for you.
Yeah. Let's move to
And also in that
question
question, I
4.
want
Yeah.
to highlight in PT exam results, when you get the PT academic results, you get right down the bottom, it says these results are valid for 2 years. So a lot of our most of our clients, when it comes to PTE results, they ask, Isuru, my results are running out in couple of weeks or couple of days or couple of months because it's only 2 years. So I just want to clarify, for migration purposes, your English results are valid for 3 years. So whether it's PTE, IELTS, OET, TOEFL, whatever
Whichever the English test, the acceptable test
3 years.
is valid for 3 years. So let's move to question 4. Is Australia open for offshore applicants for GSM nominations for 2021 and 2022? The answer
I
is
think Ashani planted this question because
No.
Ashani is going through this
so we have
South
some really,
Australians.
really good news came to us yesterday about South Australia. They are opening, I think, 20th of July from 8 a.m. And guess what, guys? Some occupations are available for offshore applicants now, and
See,
you
I
can
told you.
register your interest for these occupations. I will talk about it again later. Stay with us if you want to know more about offshore.
South Australia is about to open up, so they have advice already.
It's, yeah.
So
I
Ashani
don't know
wants to
why
talk
you
all about
already
it. So
repeated.
let's go.
Let's move to question 5. Can we work while we are on business visa 188A to support our businesses as well?
For dependent, you can work elsewhere.
Anybody
That's not
can
a problem.
work.
But for the main applicant, you have to.
You are expected to
to
work for
work
your
and
business
manage,
because
yeah.
you have to show you have had a management interest in your business, which means you have to prove that you worked in your business day to day. So you can maybe get a wage from your business, which is fine, but if your business is in Brisbane and if you go and work for some other employer in Gold Coast or Melbourne or Sydney,
Gold Coast is
it's complicated to show that you have had a management experience. But your visa comes with unlimited work rights.
So you can work.
Yeah. So I think they are the questions for today, and now we will move on to 491.
Let's talk about
small
491
business.
SBO.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk briefly about this topic because it's a large topic, and we are releasing some videos which we have organized to you in coming days.
Yeah.
Currently, 491 SBO or 491 small business owner category is open to clients in Queensland, ACT, Australian Capital Territory, or Tasmania.
So you have to be operating a business in one of these states in
Or
order
you can,
to apply.
depending on your circumstances, you can acquire
Yeah.
business and or establish a business and set it up, run it. So each state's got different goods and bads, benefits and inconveniences as well. Currently, Queensland is quite simple and straightforward, but there are strict limits. So for you to come to 491 SBO, you have to initially go past the federal government requirements. Pretty much for Queensland program, you just need 50 points by
on
yourself.
Your own, yes.
On your own, and then the federal government, the state gives you 15 points when they invite, and with 65 you should be you could be quite certain that you will be invited for the business because you spending $100,000 6 months before your expression of interest. For you to be qualified, you need to be under 45 years, have to have competent English, and then you need to have a skills assessment, and you need to purchase a business spending minimum of $100,000 in regional Queensland and operate it for 6 months before you can apply for expression of interest. And this business also need to be at least 1 year old. And if it's a franchise, it has to be 2 years old. And one other thing for this is the main applicant has to have full-time work rights at the time of acquiring the business. Whereas ACT came up with this wonderful SBO program couple of weeks ago or days ago, not long ago. So with this, you don't need to have a full-time work rights. You can be a student at the time of business, and also you can establish your own business. You don't have to buy into a business, but the minimum turnover of this business has to be $200,000. Don't worry too much. In very soon coming days, I will demystify all this and just simplify it and go into detail. With the time limits and with a lot of topics, we won't have a lot of time to go into detail. But the trick with ACT, as of to any of the general skill migration points as well, if you're currently living in okay, let's go back a bit. The trick with ACT is the matrix. So I told you earlier, for you to be eligible for 491 program, you need to go through the federal government requirement or the Department of Home Affairs requirement. When it comes to ACT, they have their own point system that they will go through. But the good thing about this is not only 491 to 191 permanent residency pathway, they also allow you 190, which is you can be a permanent resident straight away. I will talk about it shortly as well, where for 491 they look at only 3 months of operating the business, whereas for 190 you need to be operating the business for at least 6 months.
So how do they prove that the $200,000 turnover?
So it could be an establishment, or you get into a contract, or you get into the business. A lot of businesses make $300,000 within the first quarter.
Oh,
so
but it's an annual turnover though, the $200,000.
Yes,
oh.
yes. And you can go it through the providing BASs and other financials.
Right.
The trick in I've been speaking to a couple of applicant candidates from other states who's already looking to this category and preparing themselves to go and start and establish this business. See, the trick in 491 is you have to buy and operate and demonstrate that you have the ability to operate it. So when you invest money into it, you need to have a good certainty or a plan or a understanding where you're heading, because if in 6 months if you don't have the eligibility, then you have already committed and engaged and spent money on it. So with the 491 and 190 SBO category in ACT, you need to go through the matrix. I think I've got a couple of slides. I'll talk about this matrix. This is not only for 491 SBO in ACT. It is also for we'll put it on. It is also for other categories as well, for 491 190. So if you look at this matrix, I don't know if you can see it clearly. Initially it says length of living in currently in length of residence in ACT, you get points for it. English proficiency, you get points for it. But these are not the same points as for GSM programs with the federal government. Mario, let's go to table 2, yeah. And then see, you get some points for your partner's occupation, but again, partner's place of residence, you get points. And if we go to the next, this is the other matrix, length of employment in ACT. Again, partner and also the main applicant. Let's go to table 4. spouse and partner, and the education for the partner. And then last one, you'll see you get points for years of studies in ACT, and also if you have close family ties, if you have your partner being a ACT resident or a citizen, or if you have your brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, mom and dad living in there, you get points. And assets if you have assets over $250,000 in ACT. So what this matrix is all about is not just your points from the old systems of general skill migration. This talks more about your connection to the state. So this is more to see how patriotic are you towards Australian Capital Territory. So if you're planning to go set up go get into an SBO, small business operational 491 category,
just for the sake of
getting the visa from a different state, I think it can be a bit tricky. It's my own opinion. Again, check that matrix. Give us a call. We'll clarify it. If you're in a different state, maybe think about Queensland, regional Queensland. It's a much better one, or Tasmania as well. Tasmania's got a quite simple one, very similar to Australia, the Queensland one as well. Some of the comments I heard from my clients is depending on the availability of the business are a bit low in Tasmania, but Tasmania anyway in Tasmania is fine for this business category. Whereas Queensland, you cannot go into metropolitan Brisbane areas. So I hope you got a bit of an understanding about how the small business operator program works in different states. If you have good business skills, they give you a lot of good opportunities these days. If you're planning to go to 491 SBO or 190 SBO in ACT, my suggestion is, if you're still a student, probably consider go and live there to increase your matrix point, because it doesn't matter how much point you have from the other side, unless you have good matrix point, at least 65 for 491 in my experience, or 190, 85, 90 points at least. So consider living in there, working in there in ACT for a while, or studying in there before you go there. With the limited time, let's talk about 188 briefly and GTI work visa, and then we'll go to WA. We'll talk in detail, because I think WA, Ashani is going to talk about really good information later down the episode. So 188 visa, we spoke about.
188's changed a lot since 1st of July. So we will not talk about old rules anymore. It's heartbreaking. So the new minimum requirement is 188A, which is the innovation stream, and 188B, which is the investor stream. They are the most two famous ones, but I believe 188 entrepreneur stream is going to be quite famous as well. The main requirements, what changed is age limit is still the same.
55.
It's 55, and you don't necessarily need English or any educational background for this visa.
Business visa.
It's a good catch. And also the minimum requirement you need to have a business for the innovation stream. You need to be a business owner operating a business or multiple businesses. The turnover requirement has changed. It's now $750,000 minimum turnover, which actually gives you 5 points as well. And also the asset requirement has changed. Now your minimum assets needs to be 1.25 million. Which again gives you 5 points, and then it's a point tested visa. You need to come up with 65 points on your own minimum. But if you're a successful business person running a medium to large scale business, you will easily meet these points still, even after the changes, because we have had clients who meets this, who still get over 100 points very easily because they have
I
big
spoke to a
turnover
client the other day.
and big
Halfway through 140 points.
Yeah.
I was like, mate, done.
big turnover and a lot of assets. That gives you 70 points right then and there.
Yeah.
So still, this is a really great visa for the right candidate, and we are very interested and experienced in handling the visa. So if you require any assistance, you can get in touch
Those
with
assets
any of
can
us.
be between husband, wife, and also the business for 1.25 million. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But both of these visas are provisional, though they are not permanent visa. These
4 years.
visas expect
5
you to
years.
come to Australia and fulfill certain requirements. These requirements, I'm not going to go into details because they differ from state to state, and also they differ from depending on where you want to live, whether you want to live in regional or whether you want to live in a city. But get in touch with us depending on your capacity. We can suggest you the best possible state, as well as suggest you what you can do to increase your points. If
One
you
other
can
big
do
change
something.
is clients come and ask, so can we come and chuck $1.5 million into the state government and still go ahead with it? That category is no longer there. It's now increased to 2.25, but it's not the same way it used to be. This is a major overhaul where you can't just deposit money and pick up the visa like that.
Investment used to be quite secure, but right now you have to split your investment between 4 categories from memory, and some of them are not secured investments. So you have to think twice and really go through it, and you have to be a real investor, which actually pretty much covers the purpose of the visa from Australia's point of view, which I think it's good, and it will do some good to the country as well.
Well, if you have the capacity, I'm quite supportive towards it. If you have $2-3 million and if you want to come and invest, it's not the ideal situation. But if you're a business experienced investor, as Ashani
yes.
said earlier, this 2.25 you have to use professionals into it as well.
Yeah.
So that way it's
Your
risky, but
potential
then
is
its
really
potential
good
is high
too.
as well if
Yeah.
you use the right pathways. So those are the major updates.
Changes.
Entrepreneur, are you going to talk about entrepreneur
Maybe
now, or
not
we
too
going to?
much. We will leave that to a later stage, but we will touch base on the GTI new income requirement as well.
GTI 158,500 is the
Latest
new
Australian
high
minimum
income.
high income.
Yeah,
not minimum.
that's the Fair Work Australia's Fair Work high income threshold. So why it's matter to you? If you're working in one of these sectors which displays on the screen, you don't have to be a technician, and you're carrying a related PhD, or you're a recently graduated PhD holder, or if you're currently earning over 158,500 as of today, you'll be an eligible candidate for this visa category, as long as you have some global senior experience around the world and you're prominent in this sector. And this is a good visa. There's no age limit. However, if your age is over 55 or younger than 18, then you have to show exceptional reasons why you should be granted this visa. This is for global talents. We've seen a lot of really good backgrounds from financial sectors to artificial intelligence sectors to digitech, renewable energy, wonderful health industries. Most of our clients also not only be suitable for one sector, but also could be suitable for few sectors. In that areas, what we do is just sharing the knowledge with you. We look at within these target sectors, there are priority sectors as well. So if you are suited in 2 different sectors, we would advise you which sector we should be putting on. Don't forget to go ahead with this application. This is an invitation only application as well. So for you to have this done, you need to have a nominator, which is who is an Australian resident, permanent resident, or even an Australian corporation who are recognized in related to that sector. So that's more about Global Talent Independent. We have lots of experience in this sector, and we've got a lot of success stories. Let's quickly get touch base with our work visa categories. Mario, you wanna thank you.
Yeah, I'll quickly.
We've this is the summary that we always display to you guys, and
so work visa is pretty much employer sponsored, which means you need to fulfill some requirements from your side, like age and English, and your skills assessment. In some cases you need to have relevant qualifications. You need to pick a nominated occupation from a list of occupations. That's from your side. That's to put it very roughly, but you do need to have an Australian employer who's willing to sponsor you, which means who's willing to give you a job and an employment contract for at least 2 years or more, which is a main point. And that employer will have to provide some documentation to prove that they are having trouble finding the same occupation. To fulfill someone for that occupation from Australia, they have to do some labor market testing and go through a few other things, and they need to show that they're running a genuine business, and also you are genuinely needed for the business. As long as we tick all these boxes and we find you have an occupation from one of the lists, you are pretty much eligible to apply for subclass 186, subclass 482 or subclass 491, depending on some criteria. But the most important thing is, I'm probably sure everybody's heard of PMSOL, which is Priority Migration Skill Occupation List. If you have a nominated occupation in this list, which has about 41 occupations right now, you can get this employer nominated visa pretty quickly. The last one we received was actually earlier this week. We got a 186 for was it a civil engineer? No, he's a software engineer. We got a 186 granted for a software engineer and his wife as a dependent. We got it granted within 1 month, which is pretty good for a subclass 186.
It's permanent residency, yeah.
Yes. And also another benefit is you don't have to be in Australia to apply for this visa.
It could be overseas.
Yeah, right now a lot of people are having issues. They're asking us, if the borders are still closed. Yes, the borders are obviously still closed. But if you have an employer and a job offer and a sponsorship, you can apply for employer nominated visa from offshore. Given the visa is granted, you can travel to Australia with a travel exemption.
So, let's talk about Ashani's favorite before we go into...
or should we answer questions and come back to it?
No, I think we should do the Western Australia first. And then let's go... There's quite a few questions, because if we go there, we won't come back.
Now we're going to get lost in questions.
We are about to come and answer your questions soon. Let's take 5 minutes.
Take 5 minutes and quickly go through Western Australia. Right now, Western Australia is open for skilled migrants. There are 3 lists in Western Australia that you can select from, which is one is the graduate stream, which is for people who studied in Western Australia for at least 2 years. So I will go through the Western Australian requirements, but keep in mind for all these 3 streams you will have to fulfill the federal requirement anyway. The federal requirement is you have to be under 45, the main applicant. You need to score 65 points, including the state points. You need to have competent English, and these are the main the federal requirement. Apart from that, for Western Australia graduate stream, number 1, your occupation has to be on the graduate stream, the nominated occupation. You have to be living in Australia. So it doesn't say you have to be living in Western Australia, so that's very important. And you need to have English. I'll tell you IELTS 1, 7 in each band or equivalent for managerial occupations, but 6 in each band or equivalent for professional occupations in ANSCO. So if your occupation is a managerial occupation in ANSCO, then you go with 7 in each. and you have to have a Western Australian qualification for graduate stream, and you need to study in Western Australia for minimum of 2 years. And these 2 years can be adding up 2 qualifications. It doesn't have to be 1 qualification.
This is only for the graduate visa, graduate program.
Stream. And the work experience requirement is you either have to have 6 months work experience or you need a 6 months job contract. So you could be, for example, someone who graduated from Murdoch with MIT, Master of Information Technology, and done 1 year of professional year to get a skills assessment as a developer, web developer, or an occupation in IT, and then you don't have a job, you haven't worked in Western Australia or anywhere in Australia or overseas, but you find a job, a 6-month contract in Western Australia. You are eligible undergraduate stream. So this is really, really good news for people who are struggling with work experience and all these things. So that's the graduate stream. I will now go to the general stream, which means you could be a graduate from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, doesn't matter, anywhere.
But you need to be in Australia at the moment. For offshore, Western Australia is closed.
Yeah, offshore is closed, and Section 48 bar people, Western Australia is unfortunately closed. And given that you meet the federal requirement for Schedule 1 occupations, obviously your nominated occupation has to be in Schedule 1. You have to live in Australia, could be anywhere. Again, you need IELTS 7 or 6 depending on your occupation. You need to have 12 months job contract. So it has to be a full-time contract from Western Australia in the future. So you could be living in Brisbane, but you found a job contract, a permanent full-time position in Western Australia, in a Schedule 1 occupation, which is registered nurse, for example. And also you need to have work experience either in Australia 1 year or offshore 3 years, because you need to claim 5 points for your work experience to be eligible for Schedule 1. And again, you can't be Section 48 bar. I will now go to the Schedule 2 requirements. So if your occupation is in Schedule 2, you have to be living in Australia. Again, English 7 or 6 depending on your occupation. And you also need to have a 12 months contract. You don't need to have any work experience. And there are so many occupations, especially trade occupations in this Schedule 2. Even accountant is in Schedule 2. And you don't need work experience. It's pretty easy to get a job in Western Australia if you have the right skills and if you have studied in Australia. So I think this is really worth for people who are struggling in their states, because, for example, when Victoria opened, they opened with very strict limited number of occupations. So for people who graduated from Victoria struggling there could find a job in Western Australia and have occupation in this Schedule 2, pretty much can be eligible to lodge an expression of interest. So that's why it's very important. I'm planning to do a video on this as well. We'll be releasing very soon. And I think this is a really good opportunity for our graduates who wants to use this as an opportunity.
I think let's wrap up the information and let's go answer some of your questions. Again, it's taken a bit of time, but we'll try to get through to as much.
In the next 10 minutes, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. YouTube first.
Stallone Chandru. Hi, welcome back, Stallone. It's nice to see you coming in again. Please kindly share your ideas in delays in student visa process offshore. It is normal to this to process more than 4 months. Can university refuse to give the deferment while the visa is in process? So good question. Depending on the country as well, these days there are delays with the student visas because there are a limited number of visa officers, and there are a lot of other things to be considered from their end too. Most of the universities are very helpful, and they work very closely to support you wherever possible. Where they struggle to defer is if the next semester's seats are already full. I know for certain institute in certain in Australia, they're already full till February next year, July next year, etc. So if you're in the student pipeline, just keep holding it, in my opinion, because they'll be processed very soon. If it's 4 months, depending on the country, I've seen sometimes it can take 6 to 8 months to process these days due to less processing stuff, and then COVID-19 restrictions and difficulties that way as well with the offshore immigration posts. So it's nothing wrong with your application. It's just the processing period, in my opinion. So
the next question
Jaspendra
is
Giri, how are you?
Hi, how long do we need to be in de facto or married before submitting an EOI? So I believe this is for skilled migration.
Yes.
And when you submit the EOI, you have to, if you're in a relationship, you have to declare it. It doesn't have to have a time. You could be in a de facto relationship, living together to prove that, or you could be married a day before and then you submit the EOI. You need to mention that.
189190491, that's for. But remember, if you claim points for de facto relationship, and if you have not been, if you claim points for being single, and then if you apply for your EOI, and if you haven't been invited and got into a relationship, it's your obligation to let the state know, and then you'll be losing 10 points as well. So so the short answer is there is no time limit.
Exactly.
Warren, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, Isuru and Ashani. Nice to see you guys again. Hope for some feedback on North Area, Queensland for hospitality sector under sales and marketing manager.
491 applications. 491.
I believe you're offshore, Warren, from my memory from last time. Right now in Queensland, they're not inviting anyone. Well, Queensland is currently closed, so we don't know when they open. Like South Australia, they may invite some occupations from offshore. Hopefully in the next session or the session after, we would have a much better answer for you, because right now they're closed.
Yeah, for North Queensland sales and marketing, if you're working in that sector, your age limit for permanent residence is 150. Age limit is 55 years. So there's extended opportunities there, but if you're offshore, unfortunately, there's problems.
Yeah. So I've got Neil, when SBO will open for this year? I believe you're asking about Queensland.
Very soon.
End of this month, hopefully.
Yeah, within a couple of weeks it should be starting.
Yeah.
And last year, especially when it comes to SBO, they had it till the last minute. I think we did an application just about 13th, 14th of June, and got that application through. So it'll be open again.
I've got Deepan saying he applied for ROI under engineering technologist in Victoria, working for solar company, which is good. I believe you fall under the sector, the priority sector.
Yeah.
How long will it take for invitation? We can't really tell you how long it will take. It depends on how many points you have and when you lodged and what's in the queue. But hopefully you will get an answer soon. Leng is saying, I mistakenly spelled my name in EOI for Victoria. How to amend that error, given I already submitted my ROI for Victoria? I believe you should first go ahead and amend your expression of interest, which you can do anytime, and you can email the ROI team. They're pretty good with replying to your emails, mentioning that you have made a mistake and now you have fixed it, because your EOI number will not change, which is what you give for your ROI.
Alternatively, you can withdraw and put a new one because it's on the EOI.
I've got Durga. Hello, sir and madam. I have completed Bachelor in Hotel Management and want to study. Did I? No, I already read that. The same. I have completed Bachelor in Hotel Management and want to study master-related field in Australia. Yes, you can do that. But I'm confused about right course I have to lead to PR. So please, which course is best? Hospitality is quite tricky to study for PR.
Hotel management. So it depends on which areas you're going to study. Hotel management and want to study masters in the related field in Australia.
He's confused which masters he should
Yeah,
take.
so I would say right now the best, in my opinion, depending on how old you are as well, best migration program for tourism is in Far North Queensland with the Dharma program as well. So there are a lot of good opportunities, and if you like which course to suit some of those occupations, depending on your experience and work experience currently you have as well, the best thing you can do, the very, very best thing you can do is pick up the phone and give us a call. We'll give you some free advice, because we have a qualified team of, really well qualified team of education advisors. They can show you the best pathway, best suited to your qualification background, and also with your with the current scholarships and everything like that. They do it every day.
So we are actually running out of time, so we'll answer a couple of questions, because I do want to touch base on South Australia skill migration for offshore applicants, as I promised earlier.
I think in Facebook, Ansh asking a question on essay.
I'll just answer one question from YouTube. Atik, it's a really good question. I have 5 years experience as a chef, but I'm offshore. I applied for a job in Central Coast from overseas. He's happy to sponsor me for 491.
Give us a call quickly.
But I never came to Australia. Doesn't matter. 494 you can apply from offshore.
And it's in priority list.
It's in priority list. Once you get the visa, you can come to Australia as well, and I can help you with the visa process. Not an issue.
You've done the skills assessment as well.
Perfect.
Very good.
My question is, experience of 5 years as a chef is before qualification. Am I eligible for 494, or we need 3 years experience? Unfortunately, you need 3 years experience after the qualification for 494. But what we can do though, we can get you here on a 482, which is fine. You can have experience before qualification as well. And once you're in Australia, once you have that
3
years, we can actually go for subclass 186 even, permanent residency, which is much better than a 494.
Yeah.
So get in touch with us. I can clearly see that you have many options, and we can help you. And then we will move to Facebook and answer one question, and then I'll quickly go through the South Australian one.
So other people can apply for essay? Other state people can? Ansh Sharma.
Ansh is asking, other state people can apply for essay. Unfortunately, no. Only Western Australia for now. I've got Gurpinder Singh. If I do online study as on-campus full-time study load as an offshore student in Tasmania, 2 years full-time study, and he's given the CRICOS number. Commence study date is February 2021. As Tasmania is 1 year living condition for subclass 485 study,
during study,
then 1 year living in India will be count as to be he's asking, if we study from offshore, can that time be counted for his subclass 485, because there is a requirement you have to study onshore. That's an interesting, very good, tricky question, because
it's very controversial at the moment.
We were told yes, you can.
There is a lot of discussions and answers saying yes, but I could not locate any legislative instrument on it. There are positive results so far, but for me it's a bit of a grey area. It's not matured area yet, because it's only been less than just over a year since the COVID restrictions started. So
so we only have another 4 minutes left, guys. So as I promised, I will quickly go through the South Australian. There are some occupations in South Australian list. They did mention that this is open to offshore applicants to lodge a register of interest to apply for this occupation.
This is a very big news.
190 or 491. I will tell you the health sector, because there's only few occupations. So medical diagnostic radiographer, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, audiologist, speech pathologist. So if you're offshore and in one of these occupations, if you do have 90 points and if you do have 8 years experience, you do get priority, but that doesn't mean you must have them. If you're in one of these, if you have a positive skills assessment, 5 years work experience for most of these occupations, you can lodge ROI. The other good thing is there are about 20 occupations in the trade sector as well. For example, motor mechanic, fitter, tiler, carpenter. All of these occupations are also available for offshore applicants now. So if you're one of them, people have been wondering for over a year now, when is Australia opening for offshore skill migration? This is a really good sign. South Australia has started it. Maybe the other states will follow as well. So if you believe you're in one of these occupations, get in touch with us. We will check your eligibility.
So that's South Australia. Let's take a couple of questions for 5 minutes, and then Facebook. Do we have any other, or that's it? So we'll probably go to Kamesh Nirmal. What about the students? Sorry, Kamesh, not sure what your question is. Students
still cannot enter Australia
if you're
as
offshore.
of now. Yeah.
But you can apply for your student visa and be standby to be in the
Queue to come
next
here.
queue to come here.
I've got Ramit Collections asking any visa for offshore. Yes, employee nominated, business visas, some of the skilled migration. They are
Global
the
talent independent.
global talent. Yes, so they are the most common visas.
If you're in
for
priority
people.
migration list, definitely 186482492.
Yeah, and I've got Vinya asking, thanks for organizing these sessions and keeping us updated. Thank you so
Vinya.
much. Your positive comments
Goes a long
means
way with
a
us.
lot to us. Yes.
Thank you.
Watch YouTube. Oh no, I've got. who's
Vinya again
next?
had that commitment statement and demonstration of a job. Research is required when you receive visa invite. If you can.
Okay. Yeah, so
Throw
it's
some
not
light
a
on
very complicated requirement. They're asking about commitment statements and demonstration of job research. It is something we can also help with, and plus also there is something called settlement funds. Different states want you to show that you have enough funds to settle in the state. They also want you to write a statement to say that you are committed to that state. And they have clearly said, for example, Queensland, if you're moving to Toowoomba, don't say that I love the beaches around Toowoomba because there are no beaches around Toowoomba. Just show that you have done some research and you know about the area. So, yeah, they are very easy things though. If you get an invite, we can help you with all of that. I've got Watch YouTube asking, with PMS oil occupation, can we get 186 offshore from India? Now provided travel restrictions for India. Or is there any 186 visa approval for PMS occupation from India currently? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you have a PMS oil job and if you get a 186, which is PR, you can come to Australia.
So it gives you two opportunities. One, if it's PMS oil, definitely you can apply for a travel exemption and travel. But also, 186 means you're a permanent resident. So you can still apply for a travel exemption as an Australian permanent resident and travel as well. So
yeah, so it's 3:50. I think we are done for the day. Thank you so much for listening to us. Stay safe. We will be back next Thursday for another live session. Until then, if you have any questions, don't just wander by yourself and worry. Get in touch with us. We are here to help you anytime.
Until then, hit the subscribe button and the Facebook Live button and stay safe. Unfortunately, New South Wales recovering from a bad COVID hit, and Victoria just declared 5 days snap lockdown from tonight. We were having plans to travel down to Victoria, Melbourne from next Monday onwards, but unfortunately we have to cancel.
And Queensland is the golden state.
Touch wood. It's really critical time all around the world. So stay safe. I got my first vaccination already. So if you haven't got vaccinated, about the time, because with travel there might be a,
if it's available to you, don't delay it anymore.
I think it's more
I think,
important
we
to
have
do our
more.
part towards the rest of the world.
All right,
stay
guys.
safe.
See you next week.
See you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.